and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, as we are building up to another important game for Barca. This Saturday we'll be taking on Osasuna, and coming up today we're going to be talking about the really big decisions that will need to be made by Hansi Flick. It feels as though some rotation is inevitable, but we have to get the balance right. All of that and the predictions coming up, along with today, transfer news as well. We've got big updates on the future of Frenkie de Jong and his current contract situation. Big developments on that, along with Barca's search for a number 9. We're going to have big discussion on a number of centre forwards today. It is all coming your way. Let's keep this excitement going. And let's do this. Because let me first of all kick off today by saying a very big thank you indeed to Julian on the channel there. He says, give Rafinha the Ballon d'Or already. Absolute class from the Brazilian there. And I really do appreciate the support coming in on the super thanks, and absolutely agree there on Rafinha. And speaking of the Benfica game and all the euphoria surrounding it, let's actually start again by talking here about Szczęsny. Because a report came out this morning in the media that I think sums him up and epitomises his character in this Barcelona team. Because apparently, from the Barca dressing room, they basically say Szczęsny just doesn't care. You know, he doesn't care about anything. Nothing seems to faze him there. He doesn't get stressed during matches. You won't see him sort of being anxious, being nervous before games or anything like that. And you also won't see him as well getting too excited. You know, big results may happen. We may score big goals in games, but he won't go too overboard. He's very level-headed. He's very calm. And apparently, even when he was on the bench, even when he wasn't playing, he was always in good spirits there. He was cracking jokes. And apparently, he'd said there that when he came into the team, and he was giving away a few penalties, of course, he had a little bit of a slow start. Again, there was no sense of panic with him. He actually made a joke, apparently, with the rest of his teammates there, saying, how many penalties do you think I'm going to give away before the season is over there? He's taking everything in his stride. And I think this is vital, because we do have here a very young squad at Barca. I think Hansi Flick identified very early on, you need a balance to that. You know, you need some characters in there who are not going to get phased. We've got big games, we've got high-pressured situations, and Szczęsny against Benfica, he just proved there he can handle that pressure. He can be in the pressure cooker, and he can deliver. Which is why, and I've got to make this very clear in today's video, guys, we're hearing lots of rumours right now about Marc-Andre TER STEGEN. We're hearing a lot about his recovery, and of course we all want him to recover, we all want him to be in the very best of health, but we are hearing right now that he could be set to make his return, to be available to return in April. And there are some rumours that say, oh, you know, the Champions League quarterfinals, he might be looking at those. He might be thinking, I'll be back in time, I'll be back in the team for those. Personally, I do not see him taking Szczęsny's place right now. And I think coming off the back of that really long-term injury, it's been a long road back. He's also going through some things off the field right now as well. We wish him all the best in that department too. But I just think with the way that Szczęsny's playing, with the way that he's conducting himself in this team, and the way that he proved himself, like I said yesterday, we haven't seen that kind of display away in the Champions League when the pressure is on for a goalkeeper to bail us out. We haven't seen that now for several seasons in a game like that, and for me, he has to stay right there. But indeed, guys, speaking right here about our very next challenge now, coming up on Saturday night, it is a meeting at home against Osasuna in La Liga. And of course, what we want to do right here, guys, make no mistake about it, is stay right at the top of the table. That is where we feel that we belong with our performances this season, and we worked so hard to get ourselves back at the top that we do not want to let that slip now, because there's not all that many games left here. We are getting into the crunch time in La Liga here, and it could be another big weekend in the title race. When you're looking at all the fixtures to come for the top three, I think all of them present their own challenges there. Barca against Osasuna is not an easy game, as we're going to discuss here. Getafe away for Atleti, I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I would not wish for anybody to go there needing to play football, really, needing to get 3 points. So that's going to be a tough game, and Rayo are no pushovers for Madrid, and especially given that everybody here has played in midweek. It is not going to be easy, and I think this Osasuna game, personally, it would scare me a lot more if it was away from home. I mean, we all know what happened earlier on in the season when, don't forget, we went to Osasuna, to El Sadar, we rotated. Flick, I think, didn't really maybe understand the threat of Osasuna at home. He's new, of course, to La Liga. We lost the game 4-2. It was a really bad performance. They really did get on top of us. But let me just say right here, guys, let's just have some reassurance. Osasuna away are not quite the same force they are at home. If they were only playing at home this season, they'd be 6th in the league. If they were only playing away, though, they'd be 16th. They have only picked up 9 away points all season long. So it's not quite the same challenge. But we do have to be careful with the lineup right here, because I think for a number of reasons, particularly what we had to go through in midweek. Now, it was an incredible win in the Champions League. It was a really big win against Benfica that should give us all real confidence. But the circumstances were demanding. I mean, to play with 10 men for 70 minutes of the game, so much hard work went into that, so much running, so much energy was required. And for that reason, I think we have to see some changes. And I know this is an important game. I'm not saying here that we're not taking La Liga seriously. I know that we need to win this game. But I just think you can't risk injury right now. At this point in the season, there's players that work really hard in midweek that can't exactly start here, particularly ahead of the second leg coming against Benfica. That's only on Tuesday. And next weekend, we've got Atletico Madrid. The games are piling up here. You need to look for windows of opportunity to rotate, and this might be one of those. It's going to be a really interesting lineup here from Flick, because according to the media right now, one player that could definitely get some rest is Alejandro Balde again, of course. He was actually rested in our last league game against Real Sociedad, and of course on Wednesday, he had a tough night. He had a really demanding match there. On that left side, he had to defend. He had to put in a lot of running as well, as every single player did. And don't forget as well that Gerard Martin, he played against Real Sociedad at home as well, did very well. Scored a goal on that day, first goal for him, gaining in a bit of confidence as well. So it's very possible here that Gerard Martin could play again, that Balde could get some important rest. And for me, the one player that you're looking at right now that you've got to protect, and that even though it's hard, I think we've got to take Pedri out the team. And I know we don't want to do it because we've spoken so much recently about how influential he is. It is a fact that if you take him out of this team, we are not the same team. And that is difficult. And that is a really tough call then that you need to make. But I just think when you look at the amount that he ran, over 13 kilometres on Wednesday, he ran himself into the ground for the team, and it was incredible. But I think he needs a rest from the start here. As hard as it is, as good as he is, we cannot risk injuring Pedri. But this is the fantastic thing about this Barcelona team, this Barcelona squad under Hansi Flick right now, because yeah, we may well make a few rotations. There may be players here that go out of the team, but I do believe we have quality, and I do believe we have players there who are eagerly waiting for their opportunity, and they can perform, and they have shown that right throughout the season. So indeed, guys, in goal, well, Wojciech Szczęsny is going to be there. So if all else fails, we've still got Szczęsny. He's still going to be able to protect us if required. Then along the back line, Koundé's another player, isn't he, that you'd think, okay, could he get some rest? But then are you going to rest both fullbacks together? It doesn't really seem as though Flick likes to do that, and probably understandably so. So Koundé, I think, will stay in the team. Gerard Martin at left back. Then at centre back, for me, one choice is easy. Pau Cubarsí, he should play, given the fact that he didn't play all that many minutes, let's be honest, on Wednesday, and also he cannot play on Tuesday, of course. He's suspended, so that's an easy one there. You keep quality in the team. Cubarsí starts at centre-back. Now, alongside him, you could play Araujo, but given that we probably will need him again on Tuesday, I would probably play Eric Garcia in this game, who, let's face it, has performed really well this season. Give Martinez a rest there. So along the back line, Koundé, Eric, Cubarsí, Gerard Martin. It's a rotated backline. It's not our strongest backline that's available, but I think it's still a good one. Those players this season have still performed at a very good standard. In midfield, it's a very similar story, because I would give Frenkie de Jong a rest, but in doing that, you bring in Marc Casado. So it's almost as though here we're able to rest one player in Frenkie, but his replacement is incredibly good as well. We are still having real quality in our team, and providing that he's all okay and recovered from his illness, I would start Gavi there alongside him, Casado and Gavi together with Pedri there on the bench. It's tough, it's not easy, but that's what I would go with in midfield there. I would also start Dani Olmo. Of course, he as well did not play for many minutes in midweek. He's been playing really well recently. And then it's tricky, because I would also say that Yamal and Rafinha, both of them could do with rest. Let's be honest here. Yamal has been looking a little bit jaded now for several games. He came off early against Benfica, so maybe that little bit of rest could have done him good. Rafinha, though, he played the full 90 against Benfica, and much like Pedri, he ran. It's tricky, because then I also think in this game, it's possible Lewandowski could be rested, and we could start with Ferran up front. So do you go there with Yamal, Olmo, Rafinha and Ferran, or do you not rest Lewandowski and maybe then rest Rafinha and play Ferran then on the wing instead? It's a tricky one, because at the end of the day, we still got to win this game. We still have to put a team out there that is capable of beating Osasuna, not giving up cheap points. And it is tricky for Flick here, because he's also got a plan for a massive week next week, and bearing in mind what happened on Wednesday. So there's so many big calls, so many big decisions, but if this right here, if this was the team, I still believe we could get the job done. Because let's talk then about some predictions coming into this one. And as you can see right here, Barca in first in the table, Osasuna in 11th, and the form, it's very different. We are coming into this off the back of 5 wins in a row. We are full of confidence, make no mistake. And for that reason, yeah, I think Barca will still be able to win this game. 91% of you over on SofaScore believing there that Barca will indeed get the win. I still think again though, you're always thinking both teams might score. This is more split here, but I'm always thinking that maybe we might concede one simply because we score so many goals of our own. And I do believe here that Barca will score the first goal in this game, guys. And I would actually invite you here on SofaScore, check out the weekly challenges, because I actually have been putting now my predictions into SofaScore. We can all sort of see how we get on, and we can actually measure it there in a big leaderboard, guys. If you would like to get involved over on SofaScore, please use the link in the description. That's a massive help to the channel, and I'm sure there that you'll enjoy that. However, guys, we are certainly not done yet. Not even close today. We've got massive transfer news, big developments to discuss, and let's start with Frenkie de Jong's situation, because obviously right now he is only a few months away from entering the final year of his deal. That is something that Barca desperately want to avoid. They do not want to let it get to that stage, and for that reason they are already trying to act, because the latest news right now is that Barca have made a fresh contract offer to Frenkie and to his agent, and the headline on this is that it's a 3-year deal on the table from Barca, and it's for the same salary. That's the offer from Barca, a 3-year deal on the same salary. Now, on the face of it, many of you will be thinking, why? Why on earth are we offering de Jong the same salary when surely all of this time we've been talking about it? We've been talking about reducing it. We've been talking about the contract being an issue. So why then would Barca offer a deal with the same salary? Well, it's not quite as straightforward as it sounds there, because it's believed that we're talking about the same base salary. We are not talking about including any deferred wages in that deal. Because remember, guys, the main problem with de Jong's current contract is not necessarily about that base salary, it's about the deferred wages that are included in that deal, still dating back to Bartomeu's time at the club, when he made it really difficult and he wanted to make it complicated for the next president. And he did. He succeeded in that mission. But right now, de Jong's base salary is believed to be around 18 million a year in gross salary there. And I just want to say, guys, would you be happy to keep him on those kinds of numbers there? We'd still put him, towards the top, still one of the higher earners at the club at Barca, but it would not be the kind of numbers from before. And what is also interesting about this, are we saying this deal will come into effect immediately, and therefore the final year of de Jong's current deal, which does include deferred wages, are Barca expecting him to give that up? Is that going to be part of the agreement here? That is something that I would certainly wonder, and it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on, because obviously in recent weeks De Jong has really improved. There's no question about that, no doubt about that. His influence in this team, it is growing again, which is really, really good to see, and Flick has always really admired him. He's always been a big Frenkie de Jong fan, and he wants to continue to get the best out of him. But what do you think is going to happen on this contract here? Do you think that Frenkie de Jong would accept that kind of deal? Same salary, but no deferred wages? And the big question as well, would you as a Barca fan be happy with those terms? Then though guys, full focus does indeed turn to the centre-forward department there, a number 9, because although Robert Lewandowski will still be continuing at Barca next year, of course we've agreed a 1-year extension there for him at the club. It could be his last season next year, but we will wait and see how it goes. But of course Barca, even with that extension, they are still planning for the long term. We know that Lewandowski is not going to be here forever, and we do need something in that number 9 position. And of course one of the big targets that we've heard about, and certainly their deco, is a very big fan of Alexander Isak, and I can completely understand that. He has been one of the best forwards in the world this season, without question there. His goals are absolutely extraordinary, his overall play is sublime, and he is one of the most complete forwards out there. But unfortunately for every single club who's interested right now in Isak, including Barca, Newcastle have reportedly put a price tag on his head of 179 million. 179 million. You heard that right. Of course he's 25 years old, and the problem is they have him under contract, and they have him under a really, really long-term deal there, right up until 2028. So realistically, Newcastle can demand that. They're, of course, as well, a very rich club. They've got very, very heavy backing in terms of their ownership, so they don't need to sell. The only way that fee would come down is if Isak really wanted out, if he made a real scene there, actively pushed to leave the club. That's the only way, really, that fee would come down. At this moment in time, I don't see him doing that. You never see what's around the corner, but I don't really see him causing a big fuss within the club. And as of right now, it looks as though Isak is going to be priced out of any summer move. Because I don't think anybody right now, let's be honest, is going to pay 179 million. But let's see what happens, which means that right now, in terms of other number 9s, looking at the other valuations that we have Victor Gyokeres from Sporting Lisbon. He has a release clause, remember, of 75 million euros, which is just there the 100 million less than Alexander Isak would be going for. And of course there is a possibility as well that could come down too. Remember that Barca and Sporting are still sharing Francisco Trincão's rights, of course. That's something between the two clubs there that could maybe help in any potential deal for Gyokeres. That's something there to bear in mind. He is still on our agenda. He is still somebody that we are looking at. And don't forget as well the name of Benjamin Sesko. Of course, the big striker there playing his football at RB Leipzig. And of course, technically, he would probably be the least proven of the players that we've discussed so far. But he does have an incredibly high ceiling, and he has scored some absolutely outrageous goals there in the Bundesliga and at international level too. And his release clause this summer apparently will actually start at around 60 million euros there, plus some potential bonuses on that side as well. So Sesko, he is going to be coming in at around 60 million euros. So certainly looking at those three, is there anybody that you definitely go for? Is there anybody there looking at those valuations that you think, actually, that's a good deal? I'd be happy to go spend our precious money, don't forget, on a 9 this summer. Is there anybody there that really does jump out at you? And there are people as well that still say, could we go for a maybe cheaper option? Do we need to go all out this summer? Somebody, for instance, like Jonathan David, he is available on a free transfer. Now, there would be a signing bonus with that, and there would be wages to consider, but somebody like him would be a cheaper alternative if you didn't want to go out this summer and spend all the money right now. If you wanted to delay the big forward signing for maybe just one more season, that could also be an option, guys. But I think it's going to be interesting to see some really big months coming ahead here for Barca, because even though we're doing so well on the field, we are still planning ahead. You've got to do that here. You can't stand still. You can't think that everything's going perfectly. We're going to do nothing. You've got to be proactive in football in order to keep yourself at the top there. So do let me know your thoughts on all of those strikers that we have discussed and the Frenkie de Jong situation. And what are your predictions ahead of Barca versus Osasuna this weekend? Make sure you are submitting them all on the SofaScore app. And I will see all of you guys after the game on Saturday. Thank you indeed for watching here and for all of your support. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.